Hello everyone, welcome to today's lesson on factorizing quadratic expression. Quadratic expression is also an algebraic expression, but in this expression, we have the highest power of the variable to be 2. So we are looking at quadratic expression in one variable where the variable is 1. So what we have on the screen, the variable is x, and that is one variable, and the coefficient of each term, which is a, b, and c, are constant, so they are numbers in front of the variable, and the condition is that a cannot be 0. Now, why is it so? So we have the a squared, ax squared is the same as a times. So this is a times x squared. And if a is 0, we will have 0 times x squared, which is equal to 0. So this makes the expression no longer quadratic, because any quadratic must have the highest power of the variable to be 2. So examples of quadratic: we can have x squared. In this case, we have the expression to have one term, and it tells us that b and c are 0. So b and c can be 0, but a cannot be 0 because the coefficient of x squared is 1. So a is equal to 1 in this example. We can also have m squared plus 2x plus 1, 2m. We are looking at quadratic expression in one variable. So this is also an example of a quadratic expression, and the highest power of the variable is 2. We can have n squared minus 1. This is also an example of a quadratic expression because the highest power of the variable n is 2. Now let's look at some examples that are not quadratic. So we have y plus 1. This is not quadratic because the highest power of the variable y is 1. We can have m cubed plus 2m squared plus 2. This is not quadratic because the highest power of the variable is 3. So this is also not quadratic. Now let's look at some examples. So in this example, we are asked to factorize, and we are going to use two methods, and then you choose which one is efficient. So the first method, in the first method, you open two brackets. So the two brackets are multiplying, and then you divide the bracket by the coefficient of the x squared. So note, the denominator is the coefficient of x squared. So we have it to be 1. And then in the bracket, we put our first term. So our first term is going to be x because the coefficient of the x squared is 1. So we are going to write x. Now we have to look for the rest of the terms. So to look for the rest of the terms, we have the standard form of the quadratic expression to be ax squared plus bx plus c. So if we compare that with what has been given, we have our a to be 1. The coefficient of x squared is 1. The b is positive 3. Always check the sign in front of the term. And then the c our C is, so our C is positive 2. Now what we do is we find AC. So find AC, and AC is the same as A times C. So we have 1 times 2 because A is 1 and C is 2, and this will give us 2. And then the second thing we do is that we look for two factors. So two factors to multiply. So two factors that multiply to give the 2 and add up to give 3. And this 3 here is the value of the B. So we have the AC to be 2. We look for the two factors. The two factors will be 1 and 2 or 2 and 1. They are the same thing. And you can see that when you multiply 2 by 1, you get 2. So 2 times 1 is equal to 2. And 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. And that is our B. So we have found the two factors. So these are the two factors. So we are going to add these numbers to what we have in the bracket. So we are going to have x plus 2 because they are positive, and then x plus 1. You can choose to bring the 1 first and then the 2 second. Is the same thing. So we have factorized. Now when the number in the denominator is more than 1, you have to get rid of the number. Now in this case, we have the denominator to be 1, and anything divided by 1 is that thing. So this 1 divided by 1 is going to give us x plus 2 and then x plus 1. So we have factorized. And when you expand this, you should get the expression on top, which is x squared plus 3x plus 2. If you don't know how to expand double bracket, then please watch my video on expanding double bracket. Let's look at the second example using the same expression. So in the second method, now we have our A to be 1, B to be 3, and C to be 2. So we find our AC. AC is 1 times 2, which is 2. And then we find the two factors that will give us, multiply to give us 2 and add to give us 3. And the two factors are 1 and 2. So 2 times 1 is equal to 2, and 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. So these are the two factors. Now that we have found the two factors, we want to rewrite our original expression using the two factors. So the B is, now we know that B is the same as 2 plus 1. So we are going to write this as x squared plus, instead of 3, we are going to write it as 2 plus 1. And this will give us 2x plus x. And 2x plus x is the same as 3x, then plus our 2. So we've rewritten our expression as that. Now we take the first two terms and then the last two terms and factorize. So the first two terms, we have x squared plus 2x. If we factorize this, we get x out, x plus 2. And then the last two terms, we have x plus 2. Now this one is common. So we bring 1 out. That is the highest common factor for each term. And we have our x plus 2. Now, if you do your factorization right, you should have your bracket, what you have in the bracket, to be the same. And you can see that what we have here is the same as this one. If what you have in both brackets are not the same, then your factorization is wrong. So now that we factorize, instead of x squared plus 2, we are going to write it as x bracket x plus 2. So we have x bracket, so we have x bracket x plus 2, and then plus, instead of x plus 1, we write it as plus 1x plus 2. Now you can see that the two terms have the same x plus 2 to be common. So we bring the x plus 2 out, and when we bring x plus 2 out, if we take x plus 2 away from each term, we'll be left with x in the first term and then plus 1 in the second term. So this is our factorization for the expression on top. And to check whether your answer is correct, you expand the two brackets. And if you don't know how to expand, I have told you to watch my video. And this answer is the same as what we have in the first method. Now let's look at another example. So using the first method, we are going to open the two brackets. The two brackets are multiplying, and then divide by the coefficient of x squared. So in the bracket, we are going to have the first terms to be 3x. Now that the coefficient of x squared is 3, so 3x and then 3x in both. Now let's find the rest of the terms. So we have our a to be 3, b to be minus 11, and c to be positive 6. So we find AC. Our AC is 3 times 6, which is 18. So we have found AC to be 18. Now, the 18, we look for two factors that will multiply to give 18 and then add to give us negative 11. So the two factors, if you choose 6 and 3, now 6 times 3 is 18, but when you add, you get 9. We are looking for negative 11 and not 9. So we can't take these ones. These ones are wrong. So let's look for another factor. If we take 2 and then 9, 2 times 9 is 18, and 2 plus 9 is positive 11, not negative 11. We are looking for negative 11. So we can use this one, but we can put negative sign in both numbers. And when we multiply, we have negative 2 times negative 9. This is positive what? 18, because negative times negative is positive. And then negative 2 plus negative 9 will give us negative 11. So these will be the two factors that we are going to choose for this one. So now that we found the two factors, we add them to the bracket. So we are going to have negative 2, negative 9. You can choose to bring negative 9 there and then negative 2 in the second bracket. It's the same thing. Now, always get rid of what you have in the denominator. So the denominator is 3. We have to get rid of that. And how do we get rid of that? We check the terms in the brackets. In the first term, we cannot factorize because the only common factor is 1. But in the second term, we can factorize because they have a common factor, which is 3. So we can write this as 3x minus 2. And then when we factorize this is the two brackets are multiplying. So we can bring times 3 out. When we factorize, we are going to get x minus 3 divided by 3. Now, all the terms in the denominator are multiplying, so we can cancel this one. So our 3 in the denominator is gone. So we are going to have our answer to be 3x minus 2, x minus 3. And we have factorized this expression. If you expand the bracket, you should get the expression on top. So this is our factorization for the first method. Now let's look at the second method and see if we are going to get the same answer. So in this, the answer we got in the first method was 3x minus 2 and then x minus 3. Let's see if we are going to get the same answer. So the second method, now we have a to be 3, b to be minus 11, and c to be 6. So we find our AC. AC is 3 times 6, which is 18. And then the two factors is going to be -2 and -9. So we are going to rewrite our original expression using the two factors. So instead of -11, we are going to use these numbers. So we'll write this as 3x squared minus 2x minus 9x plus 6. And minus 2x minus 9x will give us minus 11x. So we've not changed anything. So now we pick the first and then the first two terms and then the last two terms and factorize. And if we do that, we have 3x squared minus 2x. When we factorize the numbers, they do not have a common factor, only the variables. So x out, we are going to have 3x minus 2. And then the second one, we have minus x plus 6. If we factorize, we have minus 3 out, and this will give us 3x minus 2. Now, if you expand this bracket, you are going to get this. And you can see that in the two factorization that we've done, what we have in the brackets are the same. 2x minus 2, 2x minus 2. And this is very important. If you don't get the terms in the bracket to be the same, your factorization is wrong. So we can write 3x squared minus 2x squared as this. So we write it as x, 3x minus 2, and then the minus 9x plus 6 as this one. So we have minus 3x minus 2. Now you can see that we have 3x and then 3x minus 2, 3x minus 2, they are common. So we bring that out. So we have 3x minus 2. And if we take 3x minus 2 from both terms, if we take 3x minus 2 from here, we are going to be left with x. And if we take 3x minus 2, we are going to be left with minus 3. So this answer here is the same. This answer here is the same as what we got in the first method. So this brings us to the end of our lesson. Now choose which one you think is efficient for you. And I hope you've enjoyed my lesson. Please subscribe to my channel and also share it to your friends and families to also subscribe. Thank you and see you in my next video.